Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Revolution. In Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 5, verse 3 through 12, he highlights 9 Christian virtues that characterize the citizens of his kingdom. The first characteristic that he mentions is humility, because humility is the key that opens the door to all other virtues and all other blessings that Jesus mentions in these verses. So the question is, what is humility and what does it look like for us as individuals? These are the two things that we're going to be looking at today. The common understanding of humility is this: not putting a greater value on yourself, your words, or your opinions, or your actions than those of anybody else. Now we know that the opposite of humility is pride. And whenever Jesus introduced the subject of humility, he didn't call it by its name. Instead, he used a 3-word metaphor to describe humility. He used the words poor of spirit. And this image makes more sense when we compare it to our common description of a proud person. You've probably watched a proud person talking loudly and showing off and making outrageous claims and said to yourself, he's so full of himself, meaning he's so arrogant, he's so conceited, he's so prideful, and he's so vain that he probably does think that song was about him. But Jesus said the key characteristic of the kingdom citizens is that they are not full of themselves. On the contrary, he says they are empty. So instead of putting a high or a rich value upon themselves and their accomplishments, the humble person will put a low or a poor value on themselves and their accomplishments. That kind of behavior is very uncommon these days. Humility is a very high standard of character, and one should be proud of themselves once they achieve it. Seriously, all joking aside, we should strive to empty ourselves of pride. We should strive to empty ourselves of pride because it's a killer. Now, here's where all of this starts to get very practical. Think about this. Both humility and pride are a state of mind. And we must be ruthless against such self-centered thoughts whenever they arise. But how do we do that? To effectively battle against these tendencies, we should pay attention to the words of the Apostle Paul. In 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 7, he says, "For who makes you differ from another? And what do you have that you did not receive?" Listen to that again, because this is very concise and it's very powerful. Who makes you different? Who makes you different from one another? And what do you have that you did not receive? In other words, you are no different than anybody else. You're not special. You do not possess one single good thing that didn't first come as a gift from God. And if what you have is a free gift from God, why do you strut around it as if you earned it or you deserve it? So if you struggle with pride, ask God for one more good gift. Ask God for the ability to change the way you think about yourself, your accomplishments, and the way that you think of others. Because once our mind humbles itself under the power and truth of God's word, our words and our actions will follow. And that's humility. Grace and peace, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.